Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Every month, my patrons submit their custom card creations to me based on a theme that I provide them. And this time around, I want to see if they can spruce up our latest core set here in the TCG. Alliance Insight has provided new archetypes and solid legacy support, but we can always push the envelope just a little bit more. So, I'll be walking you through my favorite submissions this month to show off their creativity. Welcome, one and all, to the Alliance Insight Custom Card Showcase. Today's episode is possible thanks to viewers like you, as well as my patrons. If you like what I do here, I would super appreciate it if you'd subscribe to help us reach another wonderful milestone video. And if you want to support me directly while getting some awesome benefits, check out the link to my Patreon in the description below. Brought to us by Sir Knight JCB, we have a theme that's full of flavor, the Shining Sarcophagus cards. Utilizing monsters specific to little Yugimoto, we now have more beloved cards that have arrived from the depths of the golden box that started it all. Let's check them out. The Magnet Warriors is a level 4 Earth Rock monster with 1700 attack and 1800 defense, and you can reveal this card and a Shining Sarcophagus, or a monster that mentions it in your hand, except another copy of this card, to special summon this card. Then, if you revealed a monster, you can special summon that monster. During the main phase, you can banish this card you control, and if you do, special summon a level 5 or higher monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your hand or deck. And this is a quick effect if you control Shining Sarcophagus. That's right, the Gadget Trio isn't the only group of little goobers used by the king of games, and this one's no joke. The first mode is really great for swarming the field, especially for getting out our higher leveled monsters, which generally comes with ways to summon themselves, but usually require some kind of setup to do so. Magnet Warrior just does it, and if that wasn't enough, it also pulls bigger sarcophagus monsters out of the deck, helping to get Gandora and Dark Magician into play. And this gets even better in conjunction with Ties That Bind, a card that normally only summons level 4 and lower monsters of the theme. But with Magnet Warriors, you can summon this out with that effect to get an even bigger monster. The quick effect is relevant in regards to Archfiend Advent Steel effect that triggers on summon, but otherwise it's just a neat trick. Overall, it's a very powerful enabler, making it easier to use our existing monsters as well as these next couple that are coming up. Valkyrian the Neo Magna Warrior is a level 8 Earth Rock monster with 3500 attack and 3850 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must first be special summoned by a card effect. If Shining Sarcophagus is on the field, you can banish one other monster that mentions it from your hand, grave, or face-up field to special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can set a spell or trap card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus directly from your deck. And while you control Shining Sarcophagus as a quick effect, you contribute this card to special summon up to 3 level 4 or lower monsters that mention Shining Sarcophagus, up to 1 each from your hand, deck, and banishment. And if you do, you can increase the level of those monsters by 3. So we have a big monster that can either eat up one of our sarcophagus monsters to bring out a big body, plus an effect that grabs us one of our support spell or trap cards that can deconstruct into its own component parts. The Magnet Warriors are probably going to be your go-to option to revive from the banishment here, since it'll almost always end up there when using its own effect to summon a monster. And because of the level increase, getting your Silent Zero monsters are going to be your next priority. The boost they get from the level up is significant, cranking them up to 2500 attack. And now, you have a couple of negates around to help keep your field safe. I feel like one of the things Shining Sarcophagus struggles with is getting a significant body on board to help with pressuring your opponent and pushing for game, and Valkyrian here helps us do that while giving us a solid backup plan or extension. Buster Blader the Supreme Swordmaster is a level 7 Earth Warrior monster with 2600 attack and 2300 defense, and for each monster on your opponent's field, grave, and banishment, this card gains 100 attack, and monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack. If you control Shining Sarcophagus, or all monsters you control mention it, minimum 1, you can special summon this card from your hand, and while you control Shining Sarcophagus as a quick effect, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Then, if the destroyed card is a monster, you can destroy an additional monster on the field that has the same type as that destroyed monster. This is a pretty nasty buff and debuff on this card. Give the duel enough time and you could probably find yourself with 10 monsters to fuel that effect, causing a total 2000 point swing, which is a wackadoodle. And on top of that, you get a little removal as well, with the bonus focusing on card type being a nice little callback. My only real complaint here is that it doesn't become original Buster Blader when it's on the field, kind of like how the Dark Magician and Dark Magician Goal representatives of this theme do, which would actually come up if you wanted to do any kind of cross-archetypal deck building. Card of Precious Memory is a normal spell card that excavates the top 3 cards of your deck, then adds an excavated Shining Sarcophagus or an excavated card that mentions it to your hand, except a copy of this card. Then, place the rest on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. But if you control Shining Sarcophagus at activation, you can excavate 5 cards instead. And if you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can banish this card from your grave, then target from your grave up to 3 cards that are Shining Sarcophagus or mention it to shuffle them into the deck. Then, if you shuffled 3 cards, draw a card, or add a copy of Monster Reborn from your deck to your hand. So we have a way to dig for more cards, though it is kinda random, but it's a nice additional way to search for cards, not to mention that nifty recycle that you get, especially in regards to grabbing our next card, Shining Reborn, a normal spell card whose name becomes Monster Reborn while in the hand, deck, or graveyard. It targets a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from either a grave or banishment and special summons it. And if this card is sent to the grave to activate the effect of Shining Sarcophagus, you can activate this effect. During the end phase, if your opponent has Monster Reborn in their graveyard, you win the duel. So thankfully, because this counts as Monster Reborn in the deck, we can grab it with Precious Memory, giving us a way to bring back one of our Sarcophagus monsters, even if it gets banished by something like Gandora. But I really love the extra bit of flavor with this alt-win condition, giving you a taste of what it was like for Attempt to summon Slifer the Sky Dragon with Monster Reborn, looking to win the duel with one decisive strike, only to find out that Yu-Ge had sealed his own copy of Monster Reborn within the gold sarcophagus, which in the anime negates the effects of the cards with the same name that are placed into the sarcophagus, kind of like how you just did so when activating the effect of Shining Sarcophagus. It's nifty to have on hand to extend your plays, and sometimes you get a free win if your opponent really wants to play Monster Reborn. It's wacky, but it's exactly the kind of design I love to see out of custom cards. Overall, this update adds more power to the deck, and Magnet Warriors help you to deploy your threats in an effective manner, though doesn't really add any new dimension to the theme itself. But being solid support that's heavy on flavor is a-okay in my books. Quick intermission here. Captain Blitz made a level 4 light normal psychic monster with 0 attack and defense named Unknown, in response to the new monster created by the Heraldic Beast cards. A lost soul whose name was stolen, it spreads its tail to caution any who will listen. Very funny. Next up, I wanted to highlight a bit of a glow up here. Zaldreka has been a consistent contributor to the custom cards segments, and they've had a penchant for loading up 4 or 5 effects on each individual card they submit. But after hearing how making the cards so full of effects and text negatively impacted how they were perceived, not just for being too strong, but also losing all their identity for doing basically everything, they made an effort to make their cards more concise, and I think they did a nice job, so I wanted to show them off here. The theme that he chose this time around was continuous trap card monsters, because Tiki Peace exists, and that opened up a whole jar of worms. Master Artisan of Enchanted Statues is a level 4 Earth Rock monster with 0 attack and 2100 defense, and you can discard this card as a quick effect to set a continuous trap card that can special summon itself as a monster from your deck, and the set card can be activated this turn, but you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you use this effect. And if an attack is declared involving a continuous trap card in the monster zone that you control, you can banish this card from your grave, and your monster gains 2100 attack and defense. So no matter which ones you're using, this is basically the best searcher for any continuous trap card monster in the game. You get to pitch this at quick speed to get any continuous trap card monster, which can itself be summoned immediately, and if it fights anything, it gets a permanent 2100 boost to both of its stats. Honestly, if this was in almost any other deck, I'd be going nutso right now, but continuous trap card monsters need as much help as they can get, so giving them some fantastic stats every once in a while, that's fine. Mystical Foundation is a normal spell card that has you revealing 3 differently named continuous trap cards that can special summon itself as a normal monster from your deck. Your opponent selects 1 for you to set in your spell and trap zone, then you shuffle the remainder into the deck, and the set card can be activated this turn. You can also shuffle this card and 3 continuous trap cards from your grave and or banishment into the deck to draw 2 cards. So the activated effect is just kind of a worse version of Master Artisan from before, but it does still get you a continuous trap card monster into play, so it's really really just a matter of your opponent picking the least useful one for you. The grave effect here is what gets me though. Normally, when you have an effect in the graveyard, the card that initiates it banishes itself as a show of expending the power necessary to accomplish that effect, as well as keeping you from doing it again later. But here, Mystical Foundations shuffles back alongside the other cards for the +2, which means you have the chance to do this again later. Heck, the fact that it works on all continuous trap cards, adding to their splash ability, and the fact that you do it as cost, so it can't be responded to with an effect once you get it started, and the fact that there's no once per turn on here leaves the door open to resolving this multiple times during a single turn, which seems like a pretty brutal way to bury your opponent in card advantage. Grand Palace of Enchantments is a continuous trap card that, if banished, you can set to your field. You can special summon this card as a level 12 Earth Rock monster with 0 attack and 4000 defense that is also still a trap card, but is also an effect monster. And while in the monster zone, it has the following effects, depending on the number of continuous trap cards in the monster zone, including itself. With 1 or more, continuous trap cards in the monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. With 2 or more, once per turn as a quick effect, you can banish a card from either grave. 3 or more, continuous trap cards in the monster zone gain attack equal to their defense. 4 or more, once per turn as a quick effect, you can banish a card from either field. And with 5 or more, since this checks for continuous trap cards in all monster zones, not just your own, once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can negate that card or effect, and if you do, banish that card. So the more you lean into the gimmick, the better this card becomes. But even at worst, it's a bigger Metal Reflect slime that can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. And if your opponent tries to banish the thing, yeah, tough luck, Buster, this is getting reset. I feel like what we're seeing is an attempt to condense the cards while still seeing a large list of effects. And to Zaldreka's credit, having a scaling effect like this is a pretty good way to handle it. But I think this starts out at an 11 and goes up to 30 as it powers up, and for almost 0 investment. So this might see play in a lot of decks as a defensive splash, even if they never get past the first tier of effects. Ideal Realized in Stone is a continuous trap card that, if sent to the grave, you can set. You can special summon it as a level 8 Earth Rock monster with 2500 attack and defense that is also still a trap card and an effect monster. And like with Grand Palace, Realized gets better the more continuous trap cards are in the monster zones. With 1 or more, your opponent can't target other cards you control for battle or card effects. 2 or more, and this card deals piercing battle damage. 3 or more, and this card can attack twice each turn. With 4 or more, if a monster you control attacks or is attacked, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. And 5 or more, once per battle during damage calculation. If this card battles a monster as a quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack during that damage calculation only. This is just another really good continuous trap monster. We start with great stats as well as blanket targeting protection for all of our other cards, both by battle and card effect. Crazy. Then you get double attacking, Armades, and an Honest as a reward for developing your board. And if you pair that with Grand Palace's effect, which gives continuous trap card monsters a boost to their attack equal to their own defense, this is sitting at 5,000 attack. Basically, I feel like I have a better grasp of these cards than I normally would, and I'm very thankful for that. And while I wouldn't say that the power of these cards is so vast that they're a must-play in every deck, they are certainly hard to discount as options to supplement other strategies, though you really have to be in on the gimmick if you want their full power. I wish we had less of a steep power curve here, but these are a major improvement. Okay, another quick break here. Cool Trainer Dark made some additional Ryu-Ge support to narrow in on their newly unlocked pendulum potential. Future potential Ryu-Ge Rama is a level 4 light dragon pendulum monster with 1500 attack and defense, with a pendulum scale of 4 in the left zone and a scale of 11 in the right zone. There's no actual precedence for that in the actual game, but it's been a cool idea floating around, and I'm glad to see it being used here. As a pendulum spell, if any number of other Ryu-Ge cards you control would be destroyed, you can destroy this card instead. Or you can banish this card instead of those cards being banished, or you can return this to the hand instead of those cards being returned to the hand. But you can only do one of them per turn and only once per turn. As a monster, you can only special summon copies of this card with its own effect once per turn, each from your hand, graveyard, or banishment. If a level 10 Ryu-Ge monster is special summoned from your hand, grave, or banishment by its own effect, you can special summon this card from the same zone the other Ryu-Ge monster was summoned from. If you do, this card's level becomes 10. So it protects you in the scales while helping you pendulum summon your big Ryu-Ges, and it's able to join the other Ryu-Ges in their own summon to help you make rank 10s, presumably. It's also worth noting that as a pendulum Ryu-Ge monster, it inherits the effects from all of the continuous spells, so that's pretty neat. It's a fun idea with some nifty applications, and a deck as unwieldy as Ryu-Ge deserves all the help it can get. Rebel King Lucifer gives us another dive into the emotional hellscape that is AtIgnisters. Not content to leave it as a series of blobs and monsters memorializing Ai's dead friends, we're now adding in the archetypes those friends helped to build. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without some puns to cause some real emotional whiplash. In fact, the puns are probably half the reason they made it to this video. Marincess AtIgnister is a level 1 Dark Cybers monster with 0 attack and defense, and while face up on the field or in the graveyard, this card is also treated as a water attribute. You can send this card from your hand to the grave to add a Cybers monster, either a water or dark one, or an Eye Spell or Trap card from your deck to your hand. When a Marincess or AtIgnister monster is link summoned, you can target a link monster that you control to special summon this card from your graveyard, and if you do, the targeted monster is unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. Damn, talk about your Swiss Army knife design. This is a trend over the next few monsters we're going to be seeing, that they're going to be good for both AtIgnister itself and the theme they draw inspiration from, this time around being, well, Marincess. And being a searcher for the cards in both themes is outrageous. AtIgnister may be a multi-attribute deck by design, but the newer cards are all darks to synergize with each other. That being said, even if we just stick to AtIgnisters, we still have a water target in Hiyari AtIgnister that's pretty good. And we're not even touching on the spell and trap support searching yet, which is kinda wild. And all of this sets up its grave effect, which is also pushing the envelope, because not only do you just get it back for free when you link summon one of your archetypal monsters, potentially helping with climbing the link ladder, it doesn't get banished when it leaves the field by doing so. Most decks out there would commit heinous acts to get support like this. But when I look at it in AtIgnister, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Honestly, if the late game Cybers deck wasn't spamming a bunch of cards until they caused it to stack overflow, I'd feel like something was off. Salamangreat AtIgnister is a level 5 Dark Cybers monster with 2300 attack and 1500 defense, and while face up on the field or in the graveyard, this card is also treated as a fire attribute. If you control a Salamangreat or AtIgnister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only special summon copies of this card once per turn this way. And if this card is used as link material for a Salamangreat or AtIgnister monster, you can special summon one Cybers monster, either fire or dark, from your deck, except a copy of itself. So it's free material you can summon from the hand that, when used as link material itself, gets you another body. It's hard to really expand on this in a meaningful way. It's just good, especially because you have any fire or dark Cybers at your disposal with this. And while that covers a wide spectrum of cards, most of the options pale in comparison to one particular set of cards that you can get, something that the Alliance Insight support does as well. That being, Dark Cybers includes all the Malice monsters, which means you now have indirect support for that archetype. So I guess, good for all the Alice in Wonderland and or Matrix fans out there. G-Golem AtIgnister is a level 8 Dark Cybers monster with 2000 attack and 2800 defense, and while face up on the field or in the graveyard, this card is treated as an Earth attribute monster. You can send a Cybers monster, either Earth or Dark, from your deck to the grave to special summon this card from your hand. Also, this card can't attack directly this turn. And if you control a G-Golem or AtIgnister Link monster while this card is in your grave, you can banish a G-Golem or AtIgnister monster from your grave to draw a card. So it's kind of a circular, but once it's in the grave, it's a draw engine because every turn you're just banishing one of the themed cards. And because it exists in the graveyard when you do this, and it doesn't banish itself to do it, necessarily, only very specific cards will have a lasting impact on your ability to do this. Wow! Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. A draw engine that lives in your grave and feasts off of all the errant link material you've been using seems pretty stellar. Not to mention, because it also works with Dark Cybers, we can also send Malice monsters to set up any graveyard synergies. So go ahead and upgrade that ranking. We've got to bring them up from G. We got to make them at least an A Golem, maybe even an S Golem. Cynet Alliance is a normal spell card that has you paying half your life points to special summon an AtIgnister monster from your deck. Then, special summon up to 2 AtIgnister monsters with different attributes from that monster from your hand, grave, and or banishment. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except AtIgnister monsters. So, we've made a hero lives without the empty field requirement that is also a soul charge from more zones. Kinda. I mean, 3 monsters is a pretty good rate as far as soul charges go, so I'm counting it. Now, the different attribute thing does actually apply a meaningful restriction to what we can summon. It means that we can't just go for all the good dark attribute support we just got, and it actually makes it harder to use the stuff we introduced in this custom section, because the more attributes you have, the harder it is to fit those in. Though, thankfully, it only checks that the attributes are different from the first monster that you summon. The 2 additional ones do not need to be different from each other. But that just means it wants you to play more of the original wave of multi-attribute AtIgnisters, which are still pretty stupendous. So with a little bit of deck building know-how, you can make this work swimmingly. And with the breadth of options available to you as an AtIgnister pilot, the extra deck summoning restriction isn't going to be a problem. Heck, you don't even have to rely on the Firewall link for a mid-sized end boss. And you didn't even have to spend a custom to put that in. Good job. Eye for an Eye is a continuous trap card that you can only control a single copy of. It can't be targeted by card effects while you control an AtIgnister or Code Talker Link monster, and once per turn, you can use one of the following effects. You can either, after activation, excavate the top 6 cards of your deck, and if you do, add an excavated AtIgnister monster or Cynet spell or trap card to your hand. Also place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. Or, during your draw phase, instead of conducting your normal draw, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add an excavated card to your hand. Place the rest on the top of the deck in any order. Also, this card can't use this effect next turn. That's kinda nifty. Basically, on activation, you get to sift through your top 6 for any on-theme card. Well, mostly on-theme. The Cynets are pretty flavorful, but this doesn't get us Eye cards, so that's a little off, but it's not terrible. Thankfully, the Cynet cards rule. And from that point on, you get to draw from the top 3 cards of your deck, which is very powerful. It feels like the restriction here is in place to make it so you only get to do this every other of your draw phases, but because the restriction says you can't activate this effect during the next turn with no other qualifiers, that technically means you can't activate this during your opponent's turn. Which you can anyway, because unless there's something I'm missing, you're not going to be having a normal draw during your opponent's draw phase. This might have been a bit of a problem-solving card text oversight, but still, as it is right now, I think it's a perfectly fine card. The benefit is cool, but very infrequent, and because you're excavating, your increased card selection comes at the cost of giving your opponent information, even if we don't quite see eye to eye on. Lastly, we've got a bit of an odd choice, but that's how you know you're finding the cards made with real passion. Rhyme Cairo saw a few fish monsters that enjoyed banishing from this set, but instead of going to the tried and true goatee route, his first thought was the banish fish from the early days of Zexal, and I kinda love it. Let's check him out. Swordfish and Parry is a level 3 wind fish monster with 1100 attack and 1900 defense, and if this card is summoned, add a fish and card from your deck or grave to your hand. And if you do, banish this card until your next standby phase. If this card is sent to the grave or banished, add a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster with 300 defense from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one effect of this card per turn, and only once per turn. 300 seems like a very specific stat, and that's by design, as many of the banished fish of that era have that same stat line. We've got 2 really good effects going here, but they feel a bit at odds with each other. Naturally, you'd want to use the on-summon effect to get a fish and a card, a surprisingly fleshed out series of choices here, which banishes it, thus meeting the requirements for the second effect. But the 2 effects are mutually exclusive, so it won't actually trigger. Now, that's not a problem in and of itself, but Swordfish and Parry lacks its own way to banish itself to accomplish this after the initial summon. So we either have to wait for it to die and go to the graveyard to trigger, or rely on another card to do the banishing for us. Which isn't outlandish, but it's a very pre-Duelist Alliance design that, well, that does mean it fits the era, so at least it's got flavor going on for it. Fish and Release is a normal spell card that has you targeting one of your fish, sea serpent, or aqua monsters in your banishment to banish a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster from your hand or extra deck, and if you do, summon the targeted monster. So we've got a way to pull our fry types out from the great beyond while triggering the effects of other fry types as well. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this was made with the new Toxic Box Fish in mind, letting you send it directly to the banishment from the extra deck for its negate, making this a kind of nadir servant for fish. And if your model left one of the most interesting cards to come out of the Albaz era, you're on the right track. Giant Blobfish is a rank 4 Wind Fish Xyz monster with 1600 attack and 1400 defense, requiring 2 level 4 fish monsters as a material. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card to target one of your level 4 or lower monsters in your banishment and add it to your hand. And if this card is banished, this turn, during your main phase, you can normal summon a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster in addition to your normal summon or set, an effect you can only gain once per turn. Oh hey, this works with Fish and Release pretty well too. Not to mention having a way to grab back your tiny banished monsters is kinda slick. And it doesn't even check to see if it has a specific type. You can just grab any that are level 4 or lower. I'm not quite sure which ones outside of the Banished Fish series would be relevant here, especially if it requires you to also have a couple of fish in your deck to make Blobfish, but that's for the brewers to find out. Honestly, I'm just glad we get a giant blob as a monster. It's just like me, for real for real. Ancient Oceanic Horror Zafactinus is a level 6 wind fish monster with 2200 attack and 300 defense, and you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing a fish monster from your extra deck, and you can only special summon copies of this card once per turn this way. If a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster is banished while this monster is face up on the field, you can send one card your opponent controls to the grave, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack until your next standby phase. Thankfully, this is a hard once per turn, so you won't be able to chain this effect over and over again in a single turn, but it's still pretty strong. You've got a way to enable banish effects right out of the extra deck, and provides you with removal and a sizable attack boost. Triggering this during your opponent's turn as well as your own, this can get up to 3200 attack, making this a bit tough to get over in a vacuum. And then you also just have a big level 6 body to help with Synchro and Xyz summons. It's also just really fun to say, Zafactinus, Zafactinus. I hope I'm saying it right. And that's all the ones I'll be showing off today. We had some real standouts this time around, and I think Alliance Insight is better for them, but I want to show off even more. Tons of patrons throw me their ideas, and I can't possibly fit all of them into a single video, so that's why I'm going to be going live on May 30th to show off all the ones the patrons submitted, and I'll be grading them using my patented Nova scale. So save the date, and if you want to join in on the action, there's still time. Pledge to my Patreon at the $5 or higher tier, and I'll show off your custom cards for the world to see. And speaking of the ones who support me and the channel, today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales that even come with their own lore, and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media and Chibi Gohan, Nebula Navigators, 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Charlie Mercury, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Dr. Reaper, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Meme King, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yami Nair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Poos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ally Vatnia, Animasta, Anthrak, A Random Pup, Baron Von Titty Sprinkles, Beluga Master, Blaze Rider, Blitzwolf, Chaz Ghost, Chibi Gohan, again, Christopher Fuss, again, Chris B, Cool Trainer Dark, Dr. Entity RIP, kind of again, what are you maniacs doing here? Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru, Manga Pages, Martin Moore 2468, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Pombo, Rhyme Kairos, Schwenny, Shizuki Nijimura, Simic Toadstool, Sir Knight JCB, Sphilia, Stephen Williamson, the Legendary Raven, the Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, the Queen of Time, the Jean, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara, and Zaldreka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you want to see some of the actual cards that came out of Alliance Insight, check out this video where I cover all the latest support that came out of that set. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.